this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Hey, everybody. The official Big Bang Theory podcast is back, covering seasons 3 and 4 of the show. Each week, host Jessica Radloff speaks with crew and cast members like Kunal Nair, Mayim Bialik, and Kevin Sussman. Hear about the Easter eggs you may have missed, behind-the-scenes stories, and how certain real-life relationships shaped some of the most memorable storylines. Watch the official Big Bang Theory podcast on HBO Max or wherever you get your podcasts.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know from HowStuffWorks.com.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and there's Charles W. Chuck Bryant and Jerry in our germ-free, sealed-off recording booth.
In Atlanta.
I assume this is isolated.
Yeah. I don't think it's a biological safety level 4 venue.
Would you say maybe 3?
I don't know. I think we're at probably 0.
Have you ever been to the CDC?
No.
They have, you can go into their lobby. There's like a lobby museum, couple of stories with a lot of interactive exhibits. And Yumi and I went, and she tried on one of those biological safety level 4 suits.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I got a very cute picture of her in one.
They probably swallowed her up, huh?
Yeah.
Did they have it extra small?
I think it had one size. Yeah, it was just kind of drooping down. But it's a really neat museum. If you're ever in Atlanta, I strongly recommend going to the CDC.
Yeah, I'm going to wait.
Well,
not that I'm paranoid, because we'll talk about how you can get Ebola, but it's still, I'll just wait.
I don't really blame you.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 patients, there are 2 patients in Atlanta right now, for those of you who have been under a rock lately.
Right.
Who are being treated for Ebola, apparently successfully.
Yeah.
Through at the time, an unapproved drug.
Yeah.
Or therapy, I should say. And they're at Emory, though. They're not at the CDC.
Right.
The CDC is only dangerous because, they keep anthrax in unlocked refrigerators and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and hey, we want to thank Jerry for speeding this one through.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry.
We got a lot of requests to do this, obviously, because it's timely. And we waited a week, and there's been some new developments, and there will be more in the coming weeks, obviously. Mm-hmm. But we're recording this today, and it's coming out on Thursday.
And like it's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, bam, it's dropping.
That's right.
So there's people in Atlanta with Ebola right now, and those people came from Liberia. There were a couple of missionaries, and they were flown back to America to be kept in isolation units at Emory.
Yeah, with controversy surrounding that move.
Well, yeah, because if you're a utilitarian philosopher, that was a monstrously stupid thing to do.
To voluntarily bring Ebola into the United States.
Yes,
yeah.
And there's a good chance that you will save the lives of 2 people, but you also threaten the lives of several 100 million people who may not have ever otherwise been exposed to the virus.
Yeah.
So I'm not one for panic, and especially not fomenting panic.
Of course not.
But just if you understand utilitarian philosophy, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But we're compassionate humans, not robots, so utilitarian philosophy doesn't usually go over that well.
Have you seen Contagion?
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that on the show. Mm-hmm. Reading all this stuff, really, Soderbergh kind of nailed it.
Yeah, he did.
And I believe in that movie it became Airborne, though, which is...
Was it Ebola in the movie?
Well, no, I don't think they...
Was something similar?
Yeah, I don't even think they named it because...
Oh, yeah.
So they could take a little bit of fictional license.
Yeah.
Or maybe they named it, but I don't think it's Ebola. But it, started with a fruit bat and... transferred. We'll get to all that stuff.
Yeah, that one scene where Gwyneth Paltrow has that fruit bat on her face and she can't get it off. It's riveting.
Very scary movie, though, man.
It is. Outbreak was pretty good, too. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but I liked it at the time.
Yeah.
It was all right.
It was okay. Not as good as Contagion.
Dustin Hoffman?
Oh, sure.
He plays an epidemiologist like no other.
He's great.
Okay, so let's get down to it, man. Let's talk about Ebola. It's as far as discovery goes, it's a relatively new player on the deadly virus infectious scene.
Yeah, I guess we should go back to 1976. It's actually named for, and I didn't know this, the Ebola River in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which I imagine that river doesn't see a lot of traffic anymore with that name. But it has nothing to do with the fact that they discovered it in the river or anything like that.
No, it's just the region.
Yeah.
And at the time, that country was known as Zaire.
Yes.
And even still, there's a strain of Ebola known as Zaire type Ebola, and it's the deadliest of all.
Yeah, each of the 5 strains are named for the origin country or area. And in this case, a man named Mabalo sought treatment for a fever in 1976. They thought it was malaria, which a lot of times they still mistake it for malaria or other diseases. So they treated him with a shot of quinine and said, this should make you feel better. Let me reuse that needle because it's Zaire and we're underfunded, medically speaking.
Yeah.
And that, of course, spread, and before you know it, relatives, friends, after performing burial rituals where they have close contact with bodily remains and fluids, people started dropping like flies.
Yeah.
It was really scary.
And then they think he was patient 0, or at the very least he was an index patient, which is
what's the difference between an
maybe
index
patient
case?
0 is like the first person to ever contract it, and an index person is the first person in an outbreak.
Okay.
I believe it's possible that Mabalo is both. He could be patient 0 and the index patient for that particular outbreak, but the patient 0 for all of Ebola.
Yeah, and in this case, in 1976, 91% of the 358 people died, and kind of a near simultaneous outbreak happened in Sudan, and 53% of the 284 died in Sudan, which is pretty good because it generally kills about 90%.
Okay, so that's Sudan-type Ebola. It's less deadly than Zaire-type Ebola.
By about 40% in that case.
Yes, but even still, you're talking 50%. That's way better than 90%. But consider this, Chuck. I looked this up. You know the influenza of 1918, 1919?
Sure.
The Spanish flu, I think is what it's frequently called.
Okay.
Back then, there something like, I think, 20 million to 40 million people died in 1 year across the world.
Wow.
Okay? The average life expectancy in the U.S. dropped by 10 years that 1 year because of that one flu. It had a mortality rate of only 2.5%.
Wow.
Ebola has a mortality rate of 90%.
Well, yeah, that's why it's so frightening, because if it became airborne or aerosol and widespread, it's could eradicate like the planet.
Pretty much.
Of human beings.
Luckily, it's only been shown to be able to spread via aerosol, like through the air, among monkeys. That's kind of cold comfort, though, if you think about it. Because
no, totally.
We can get it from monkeys, and if monkeys can give it to each other like that, then that's terrible. That's bad stuff.
Yeah.
The reason why they think Ebola has not spread is, one, because you can't catch it through the air.
Yeah.
But also, kind of chillingly, it kills people too fast for them to infect that many other people.
Yeah.
One of the problems, and you mentioned it in that story about Mabalo, patient 0, or at least the index patient from 1976. In Central Africa, there are a lot of burial customs that require, like you said, the family and friends of the deceased to wash the body.
Yeah.
Sometimes to clean the waste and food out of the body.
Yeah.
And to not use protection or gloves or anything like that.
Yeah, like contact with the body is key.
Right. It's a part of the ritual burial.
Yeah.
And it still is. Like, even during this outbreak now, you have like World Health Organization people going from village to village saying, do you have any dead that we can take away to bury? And they're like, no one's died here. And they're literally hiding the bodies.
Yeah.
Because they don't want their deceased to not be honored in the way that they should be based on custom and tradition. The problem is this custom and tradition is also simultaneously spreading the Ebola virus.
Yeah, I mean, just something like that, if they could just talk them into at least like wearing gloves or something, like any little bit would help.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. So, you said there's 5 types of Ebola.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about the filovirus family. Because Ebola is a virus, and it is a filovirus, which isn't that different from any common kind of virus, actually. But it is a worm-like particle that's described as hooked, like a shepherd's crook.
Or a 6 or a U.
But you mentioned the 5 different types, and they're named after the region of their origin. The Zaire and Sudan strains that we talked about. Mm-hmm. The Bundibugyo.
Nice.
The Thai forest.
Formerly the Côte d'Ivoire.
And the Reston type, as in Reston, Virginia, which is, you might think, what?
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah, there was a shipment of crab-eater monkeys that came out of the Philippines, which is the origin of the Reston type Ebola virus.
Yeah.
And they were sent to a testing facility in Reston, Virginia. And a bunch of the monkeys started dying. Actually, 2 shipments, I think, of monkeys died from this.
Wow.
And in the second shipment, some of the monkeys infected some of the humans, and the humans contracted the virus, but nobody showed symptoms. So we found out that the Reston virus, humans don't respond to.
Yeah, it's not deadly at this point, at least.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It is great.
But
one less deadly Ebola virus is definitely good news.
Yeah, seriously. All of the genetic information, though, from Ebola comes from RNA instead of DNA, like us humans. And it's really pretty basic compared to us. If we have 3 billion base pairs of DNA, there are only about 19,000 number of RNA in a filovirus, which is, it's pretty basic.
Yeah. And the RNA actually is basically, like with any virus, it's just there to say, here's the instructions to replicate me.
Yeah.
And here you go. And the Ebola virus spreads like any other virus, where it basically enters a cell.
Yeah.
It injects that RNA, which in turn hijacks the processes of the cell and turns it from its regular duties into becoming a replication machine for this virus. And it churns out all of these different virus particles, virions, I think is what they're called. And those things eventually overwhelm the cell. And if it's an enveloped virus like Ebola, that means that the virus can go in and out of the cell membrane because it's surrounded by like a fat lipid coating.
Yeah.
It can go in and out of the host cell without destroying the host cell. A naked virus goes in, injects its stuff, it takes over the host cell, which makes so many that the host cell just ruptures, and then that's the way that the other viruses are released. With the Ebola virus, it just basically secretes in a really gross way, but a cell that's been hijacked secretes new Ebola viruses. Yeah,
and a lot of this is still a mystery that we're figuring out, but they do know that it can infect a lot of different types of cells, but mainly attacks the immune system. And then from there it travels to the lymph nodes and then the spleen and the liver through the bloodstream. And once it's in those cells, it's going to release a bunch of nasty chemicals. They think it's related to the closest to the measles and the mumps, actually.
Yeah.
Which all that stuff is helpful in trying to figure out cures.
Oh, yeah. So they think, from what they understand of the Ebola virus now, is you contract it through contact with body fluids. And it gets into your mucous membranes or breaks in the skin. And once there, it shows a preference for immune cells. Like it goes after, talk about an aggressive virus, it goes after the very cells that are meant to destroy it.
Yeah.
And it messes with them. Depending on the type of cell, it'll either make their function go haywire, which accounts for like a huge immune response, or it will shut down like an immune cell's defenses, right?
Right.
So it makes your immune system go haywire, but also prevents your immune system from mounting a defense, which is why you're in so much trouble if you contract Ebola, because it just goes after your immune system. And then once your immune system is suppressed, it goes after other cells, like epithelial cells or endothelial cells.
Yeah.
So like connective tissue cells or neurological cells that line the interior of your blood vessels, which makes your blood vessels weaken and start to bleed internally. And then like you said, it goes into your liver and your spleen and just hijacks everything there, ultimately leading to tissue damage and then organ failure.
Yeah, that's how you will eventually die, is multi-organ failure and shock. And you mentioned the antibodies. That's typically how they test for Ebola now, is to looking for the antibody instead of the virus. But like you mentioned, it may have suppressed the immune system such that they can't even detect it.
Right.
And the only tests they have are expensive and they're tough to transport, require machinery, so it's not the kind of stuff that they're sending over to West and Central Africa for the most part.
Yes.
Sadly.
So it makes it, the fact that it's in often very remote locations, that the outbreaks have been kind of contained, I guess. They've been relatively small. I think something like 2,500 people out of 25 outbreaks since 1976.
Yes, I have 3,000 cases and 2,000 deaths.
And that's up to the minute, like it includes this current outbreak?
Yeah, this was like from 3 hours ago.
So that's a lot of people, especially if you live in Central or West Africa. But if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, especially for as virulent as this virus is, that's not that many people. So the fact that it's so contagious, that it's hard to get and that it's hard to detect makes it very difficult to work on Ebola, work on a vaccine, work on a treatment for it, that kind of thing.
Well, and sadly, I know this isn't 100% across the board, but pharmaceutical companies develop drugs that will make them money.
Yeah.
They're not in it for curing the world of rare diseases that number in the hundreds or low thousands. And basically it's tough to admit it, but there's not a market for these vaccines, a money market.
Yeah.
Which is a big failure for humanity.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it takes the threatened life of 2 American missionaries to really get the pharmaceutical industry going. And that's exactly what's happened.
All right. Well, let's take a break here and then we'll talk about some of the actual symptoms right after this message. Stuff you should know. Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Everyone knows winter is the real mess maker. You don't need WeatherTech floor liners for summer unless you hit the beach and half the beach ends up back in your car or the campsite dirt ends up in your trunk. Then you'd want a cargo liner or a road trip goes sideways, lemonade spills, ketchup goes rogue, ice cream drips. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy about those WeatherTech seat protectors. So just to be clear, as the mud you're inevitably going to step in this summer, you don't need WeatherTech unless you plan on doing summer. Visit WeatherTech.com today. Okay, you're going to know if you have Ebola. Oh, well, actually, you won't know for a little while. That's what's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Is it may think it's something else, but when it enters your body, it's going to kind of just sit there silently for 2 to 21 days, typically about 4 to 10. And then you're going to start noticing fevers, headache, chill, joints aching. You're going to be really tired. And then that's when you will likely be misdiagnosed.
Right.
With malaria or something else.
Maybe dengue fever.
Yeah.
Maybe yellow fever, but typically malaria is the one that they go with because the Central and West Africa are so, it's lousy with malaria anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks exactly like malaria. It's after a couple of days of showing symptoms that it starts to become apparent that possibly it's Ebola. And the reason why is because you take a very sudden, very sharp turn for the worse after the first couple of days of showing the normal flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, then you're going to have bloody diarrhea, jaundice, really bad sore throat. You're going to vomit. You're not going to be hungry. And then once you have symptoms for about 5 days, about 50% of the victims will develop rashes on their shoulders and chest area.
Yeah. And that's the second stage. There's still yet a third stage. It's about this time where if you are going to have large amounts of bleeding, this is where it's going to start to happen after several days. Apparently, in very aggressive cases of Ebola, like the Zaire type, you can die like in 6 days after symptoms. Yeah, which is extraordinarily mind-bogglingly fast for something like this. Yeah, and thanks to our friends at the movie Outbreak, when people think of Ebola, they think of people like squirting blood out of their eyes. Right. There is typically some sort of internal bleeding with Ebola. It is a hemorrhagic fever, after all. Yeah, about 50% of patients will have this bleeding, mainly in the gastrointestinal tract. Right. So, but it's not coming out of your eyes or anything like that. But it is a result of the Ebola virus going after those endothelial cells, those cells that make up the structure of the blood vessels, and going after the tissues and the organs and just degrading them, basically. It's also a part of your immune response. Like you can have an overinflammation as a result too. So all this stuff is adding up to you bleeding internally. And we should say though, Chuck, like you're not going to bleed to death. No. People who die from Ebola typically die as a result of that internal bleeding may lower their blood pressure. Right. And they'll die from hypotensive shock. Yeah. So I mean, what happens is your blood tries to clot thanks to proteins, and there's so much clotting going on and so many proteins hard at work, it can't keep up, essentially. And once the tissue damage starts, those proteins are busy and your bleeding is uncontrolled at that point. Right. And it's a very sad result. Speaking of proteins, Ebola makes two types of this one specific protein, a glycoprotein. And one is pretty straightforward. It allows the Ebola to move in and out of a host cell. Yeah. The second use of it's called secreted glycoprotein, SGP. Yeah. That stuff basically goes out and hushes the immune response. It says, shh, you be quiet and be still. And it just basically goes and shuts down the antigens, is what they're called, that come after things like Ebola and kill them. And it basically just ties them up and gags them. Wow. I know, isn't that just crazy? Yeah, I mean, it's a nasty, nasty virus. What we know about it right now is, and this is one of the other scariest parts, is that they are still not for sure where Ebola hangs out for the years that it lies dormant in the world. Because it doesn't go away. If it went away, it wouldn't come back. It just means it's out there somewhere in a reservoir, in a host. It is a zoonotic disease, so it occurs naturally in animals, but obviously is transmitted to humans. And like I said, it doesn't go away. What they have to look for, and what they've tested and killed scores of animals doing, is to see if an animal can survive the virus. Because if they can survive the virus, they're a good candidate to be the host. A reservoir. Yeah, exactly. So they've tested all kinds of animals, and what they're pretty sure of, but still not 100% sure of, is that it is the fruit bat. Yeah, it looks a lot like the fruit bat. The reason that they've been having such a hard time finding it is because from after the 1976 outbreak, Ebola just went silent until the 90s, till there was another outbreak in the 90s, which is really suspicious as far as epidemiology is concerned, because that's not supposed to happen. So it made them think that maybe there was some exotic animal or exotic plant or something that was acting as the reservoir. But now they're starting to think more and more that, it's the common fruit bat. Yeah, because fruit bats can have the virus and not get sick. And that is, and they've, fruit bats are in locations where they have the index cases. Yeah, so it's all pointing toward the old fruit bat. Yeah. Plus they've shown, that Ebola can be transmitted through bat guano, which is bat poop. Which is what happened in, Contagion. Was it bat poop? Yeah. That scene where, Gwyneth Paltrow is just eating a bowl of bat poop on a bet. Spoiler alert, I think it was through a pig that eventually found its way to a restaurant. The way that movie unfolds at the end, man, is just chilling. Yeah. So like we said, we know how it's transmitted, through first human to animal contact, then the infection, and then
through, bodily fluids and secretions. And dirty needles is the biggest culprit, though, and depending on how you get it, could affect the outcome. If you have gotten it through a needle, you have 100% chance of dying since 1976. If you've gotten it through other contact, it can be about 80%. So I guess that's where they come up with the 90% rate.
Yeah, I think the 100% rate was for the 1976 outbreak specifically. 100%.
Yeah.
100% of people who transmitted it via needle in that outbreak died. That is insane.
Yeah, and the incubation period is different too. 3 to 6 days for a patient if you're stuck with a needle versus 5 to 9 for contact exposure.
Yeah. So, Chuck, we're going to talk about how to prevent the spread of Ebola up next and what's going on right now with possible cure.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Everyone knows winter is the real mess maker. You don't need WeatherTech floor liners for summer unless you hit the beach and half the beach ends up back in your car, or the campsite dirt ends up in your trunk. Then you'd want a cargo liner, or a road trip goes sideways, lemonade spills, ketchup goes rogue, ice cream drips. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy about those WeatherTech seat protectors. So just to be clear, as the mud you're inevitably going to step in this summer, you don't need WeatherTech unless you plan on doing summer. Visit WeatherTech.com today. So up until recently, when we had these patients shipped over to America, your only chances of contacting Ebola is if you went over to Central or West Africa, which a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. A lot of people live there as well. And they suggest that if you find yourself over there, you not dwell in forests or caves.
Yeah.
Because that's where the fruit bats are.
Well, plus you can contract it from gorillas and stuff, too.
Sure.
So you shouldn't eat bush meat, shouldn't touch dead gorillas.
Shouldn't touch dead animals, period. Try and limit that contact.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
And, of course, if you're over there working as a healthcare worker or if you're just over there working or living, you should avoid any kind of reused needle.
Yeah.
Because you're guaranteed to get it almost.
So we mentioned already the burial practices that are becoming a vector for disease, the spread of Ebola. There's also a couple of other factors that are coming into account. They think that if the fruit bat is the reservoir for Ebola, then the reason that it spread, because it was always just in Central Africa before.
Yeah.
Now suddenly it's in West Africa. The March 2014 outbreak started in Guinea. They think that it's because the fruit bat's migration patterns might be shifting because of climate change. So that could be fostering the spread of Ebola.
I hadn't heard that.
One of the other problems with this is that there's a very widespread lack of trust for the governments of West African countries. And so there's a lot of misunderstanding, misinformation. There's very little trust for the World Health Authorities. There's very little trust for the government. Some of the governments are using it as political tools, like and I think Sierra Leone, they call it East-Bola because the government in power, their main opposition stronghold is in the East, so they're blaming the East on Ebola. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on over there that's not helping with this particular outbreak right now.
Yeah, that's really sad.
Yeah.
You mentioned about this strain, or this outbreak started in Guinea. They think they've traced it back to patient 0, a 2-year-old patient there. It was about 8 months ago. They think that this toddler died. She suffered from fever and black stool and vomiting, and then died on December 6th of last year, even though they don't know how she got it. And then shortly after, her mother died on December 13th. Then her 3-year-old sister died on December 29th. And then her grandmother died on January 1st. And this is all in the village of, I know I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's Meliandou and Guécadou.
Nice.
It's my best effort there.
In Guinea?
Yeah, and then that area is really close to the Sierra Leone and Liberia borders, which explains a lot. And then it spread outside their village to people that attended the grandmother's funeral because, of course, again, they had close contact with the body. And then 2 of those funeral attendees brought that back to their village. Then healthcare workers there and family members got sick. And a healthcare worker in Guécadou was suspected to have triggered the spread to 3 other villages in February of this year.
Oh, man.
And that just shows, man, again, just like in Contagion, it's just like from person to person, and all of a sudden it's in places nowhere close to where it started.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's in places not super far from where it started.
Yeah. Did you know that did you hear about the health care bots that caught the outbreak before the announcement?
No.
There's these bots. I can't remember the name of the company that runs them, but they're basically just, their job is to just scan the internet, scan journal articles, scan news. They're probably hitting the deep web, I would guess. And they are looking for any and all mentions of things that have to do with outbreaks. I think healthcare stuff in general. But 9 days before the announcement by the Guinea authorities, these bots caught this outbreak in that area. 9 days.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive stuff. And hopefully will come in handy further down the road when people learn to trust that.
Yeah, but still this one's been the worst yet. And one of the scariest reasons is because it's happening so fast. The common methods we have for dealing with it aren't working quick enough.
Well, the common methods we have for dealing with it are as follows. Like you said, there's no way well, there are ways, there's tests that show this is Ebola. They're tough to get to these areas. So it's mostly, shoe leather diagnoses, I guess. And then the other aspect of it is that there's no treatment aside from rehydration. Like, consider that, Chuck. Like, if you're struck down with Ebola, guess what treatment they give you? IV fluids. Yeah. That's it. They isolate you and give you IV fluids to try to replenish what you're vomiting out, diarrheaing out, and losing in sweat. Yeah. That's the treatment.
Well, it was until about 5 hours ago.
Yeah?
This, I wish we had some sort of a news wire.
Oh, we do.
We do?
Jerry knows one. Remember when I went, yeah. And then she had one accompanying it, and man, it might not even be out yet. So let's debut it right now, Chuck.
This is fresh off the wire via CNN. What they have now are an experimental serum called ZMAP, and it's made by MAP Biopharmaceutical. I'm not sure where they're located, but there's another one called Kentucky Bioprocessing, which manufactures another version of the drug, and they're the ones who are making this brand new, very experimental drug, and so new, so experimental, that this week the World Health Organization had to get a group of ethicists together to say, should we use this stuff? Because the normal testing process is way, way longer than what they've got time-wise. So can we speed this through? Should we use it? The WHO panel said unanimously, yes, it's ethical. We've got to do something. I think the UN came on board just a few hours ago as well. And so they treated the two Americans, Dr. Kent Brantley and Nancy Wright-Bowl. They are recovering, but sadly, Miguel Pajares, the Spanish priest, died this morning, even though he was treated with the ZMAP as well.
So it has a 2/3 success rate at this point. So
far, but that's the deal with experimental drugs, is they don't know if it's going to work or how it's going to work or who it's going to work on.
Yeah.
It's sort of an ethical quandary, because if there's already people saying, well, you've used it on these Americans. Why haven't you used it in Liberia? It's sort of a no-win situation this early, because if they had died, and this is from Paul Root Wolp, he's the director for ethics at Emory here in Atlanta. He said, if it had killed both these Americans, people wouldn't be saying anything. But because it worked, they're saying, why isn't it being used in Africa? He said, but if we would have taken it to Africa and it killed them, they would have said Americans are experimenting this drug on poor Africans.
Well, the way they've done it then is exactly right. They experimented with Americans and then shipped the rest of it to Liberia. So Liberia has the remaining stock of Z-MAP right now. There's no more of it in the U.S. It's all in Liberia.
Yeah, they applied for it, and they're, like you said, they've got it all, and they're already out, and it takes a while to make.
Well, they've figured out some ways to make it even faster. So what Z-MAP is called a monoclonal antibody treatment therapy. Basically, they introduce something like Ebola into, in this case, a tobacco plant, and they create antibodies. The plant creates antibodies to the virus.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, these are the antibodies we need for Ebola. Let's synthesize them. And they make synthetic antibodies. And they take those synthetic antibodies, the monoclonal antibodies, and they inject them into you, the Ebola patient, and these antibodies go in and mimic your body's immune response, which in turn mounts a real immune response and then fights off the Ebola virus. And they don't just use it for Ebola. They try this on cancer, on all sorts of other viruses.
Sure.
So monoclonal antibody therapy isn't new, but using it against Ebola, this specific one for Ebola, is new.
Yeah.
And then also using tobacco plants as the source of the antibodies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's fairly new too.
Wow.
But it makes it so that you can turn it over a lot faster.
Wow.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that is very cool. But like we said, it's so new. I mean, they've literally just treated these few patients, and one of them died, so the jury is out, and in the coming days, we're going to learn a lot more about Z-MAP.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll save Liberia.
Yeah, they've, I never knew this either. An outbreak is considered over after there have been 42 days straight, which is double the incubation period, without any new cases.
Gotcha.
So, everyone's hoping for that 42-day period very soon.
Nice. I'm hoping for it.
You got anything else?
No. Did we ever mention Marburg virus?
No, that is a cousin that is also deadly, right?
It's the other non-Ebola virus in the filovirus family.
Right.
It is deadly, but it's extraordinarily rare. And
Yeah.
It's named after a German town where there was an outbreak in the 60s because of some monkeys that were shipped for testing.
Wow. So I guess that's a disease naming convention here. Is it they, or everywhere? Is it they name it after where it started?
Yeah. Reston, Ebola, Marburg.
Yeah. Zaire.
Yeah. There you have it. That's up to the date Ebola info.
Yes.
I don't have anything else. You don't either?
No, but you know what? You guys, if you want to follow this, we should follow up in our video series, You Better Believe It, that you can find on our YouTube channel. We use that. We take you in the studio to kind of follow up on some stories, talk about newsy items or make corrections.
And it comes out every Monday?
Yeah. And, you can go to see that at, I think is our YouTube channel, Josh and Chuck?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll follow up on this as things develop.
Good thinking, Chuck. If you want to learn more about the ins and outs of Ebola, you can type Ebola into the search bar at howstuffworks.com. And since I said search bar, it's time for listener mail.
I'm going to call this a guy making a move.
Oh, yeah.
So Corey Barker wrote us in and says, hey, I just wanted to thank you guys, first of all, for all the hard work you do, and also for inspiring me to make a move in my career. My day job involves a completely ridiculous amount of driving. You guys have always been instrumental in keeping me awake. I've had people tell me on and off for years, you should do radio, because Corey's got a great voice. He said I would always kind of scoff and think how impossible that would be. But recently, I decided that I would try it out. I invested in some decent studio recording equipment, made a few audition tapes, or I guess digital files.
Yeah.
And as of last week, I signed my first audiobook contract.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I'm going to do this.
You can.
Is it that easy?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's easy. I think you have to have some talent, but I think there's plenty
of course.
self-published authors on Amazon who are looking for people to make audiobook versions of their stuff.
That's awesome. Well, that's what he did. He said we deserve a lot of credit since if I didn't listen so much to audio while driving, I would never have decided to take this plunge. Anyway, I decided I would try to repay a slight amount of what I've received from you guys by creating an ad that you could force all the other Stuff podcasts to play.
I think this is a good idea.
If you like it, use as much as you want. I surrender all rights. Keep on trucking. You will always have at least one listener, and that is Corey Barker. And he said, P.S. I've decided to start writing again as well, thanks to you guys, because your episodes have spawned some amazing short story ideas. So, Corey, let's go ahead and hear your ad for Stuff You Should Know right now.
Enrich your mind, explore new horizons, and learn about the world around you. Stuff You Should Know, Tuesdays and Thursdays on HowStuffWorks.com.
Man, how about that?
Thank you, Corey.
Good voice. I don't blame you.
We are going to totally oppress the other podcasts with this.
Yeah, and I told him to listen out for this, and he wrote back saying, I'll make sure I have an extra pair of underwear to change into for when I hear this on the air.
Awesome.
Which is really gross.
Stuff it into your front shirt pocket.
Oh, my gosh.
The clean pair, Chuck.
Oh, okay.
If you want to get all excited like Corey, you can share your excitement with us on Twitter at SYSK Podcast. You can join us on Facebook.com/Stuff You Should Know. You can send us an email to StuffPodcast@Discovery.com. And as always, hang out with us at our home on the web, StuffYouShouldKnow.com.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit HowStuffWorks.com.
Everyone knows winter is the real mess maker. You don't need WeatherTech floor liners for summer unless you hit the beach and half the beach ends up back in your car, or the campsite dirt ends up in your trunk. Then you'd want a cargo liner, or a road trip goes sideways, lemonade spills, ketchup goes rogue, ice cream drips. Yeah, you'd be pretty happy about those WeatherTech seat protectors. So just to be clear, as the mud you're inevitably going to step in this summer, you don't need WeatherTech unless you plan on doing summer. Visit WeatherTech.com today. Hey everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting SimpliSafe.com/stuff. That's half off at SimpliSafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.